Welcome back to the Mad Sopranos Men Show. We're your hosts, Chris Broadhead and Michael Dennis. In this program, for the uninitiated, we're going to be taking a look at the two greatest shows ever made, especially made this century, and going on an episode by episode basis where we look at kind of the overall themes and storytelling elements that we see kind of cross pollinate between these two. So, if you're looking for like a scene by scene breakdown, this isn't really that. We're looking at a broader picture. But today, we're also going to be breaking with our routine because this would be episode 5. So on Sopranos, that would be college, one of the biggest episodes ever, and then 5G on Mad Men. But today we're getting in the holiday season and doing Christmas episodes for both of them. We are doing on the Sopranos to save us all from Satan's power from season 3, and then Christmas comes but once a year over on Mad Men season 4. Chris, do you have any more Christmas shopping you got to do this weekend, or are you all set?
Yeah, all of it.
All of it?
I've done none.
With us
And
having go ahead.
and normally my procrastination is saved by Amazon. I'm like, "Oh,
Mhm.
cool, I'll just 2-day ship it from Amazon." And I was like, "Okay, let's check out Amazon." And it's like the earliest anything can get delivered is like December 28th. And I'm like,
No.
"Okay, there's gotta be something on Amazon.
Yeah.
Can be delivered before Christmas." And they're like, "Nah, nah, fuck you, dude. You should have done this a month ago."
There should be like a separate thing on the Amazon homepage where they acknowledge the stuff you want will not get there by the 25th, but here's a bucket of stuff that's readily available.
Yeah,
So it would
yeah,
be like the Dollar Tree of Amazon, where you can
yeah.
just go and pick something and just have something to deliver.
Or or
Or
just, uh or just really take advantage of me and be like, "Here's the things that will get delivered by Christmas, but they're 10 times the price."
yeah,
Just
yeah.
gouge the fuck out of me.
It's just yeah, it's just there's they've dropped all pretenses whatsoever of delivering a product at a reasonable price. They're just completely out for the gouge.
Yeah. They're like, "How dare you try and make the money with which to buy presents? You should have been not making that money and spending money that you didn't make yet, a
Exactly.
month ago, you
You just
negligent
described it.
monster."
You just described America in a nutshell. So good job there. Before we hop into these episodes, there were two things about these shows in the news this week. Because they're the ripples of these programs and what they produce and accomplish still. You feel them every day. You see them every day. Variety put out a list of their top 50 television shows of all time,
Mhm.
and Sopranos was
Two and a
number
Half Men, The Big Bang
Sopranos is
Theory,
Sopranos is number
Friends.
3. I didn't even scroll down any further because after I saw Sopranos at number 2 and number 3, I was like, those are the only 2 I care about. I think I saw The Simpsons at, like, number 9, but I those are the only 3 programs I've ever watched aside from, like,
If The
Chappelle's Show.
Simpsons stopped after season 11, would they be in the top 5?
I
Have they
think
so
so.
thoroughly watered down that brand that they they're number
Yeah,
9?
people forgot what it was
Yeah.
and just don't have the memory for it. I was listening to something the other day and somebody made a comment, it might have been a podcast or something, they were like, "The Simpsons is still on? Can you believe it?" I'm like, "Yeah, they've been dragging that corpse for 21 years now."
I'm convinced that, like, all this new AI animation software, that these studios have been sitting on it for, a decade or 2, and all
Yeah.
these animated shows are like, "Don't tell anyone they cost, like, $30 an episode to produce."
Dude, that makes perfect sense because I remember, when we were living together in Chicago and, the Despicable Me franchise got launched, and you
Mhm.
kept seeing ads and commercials for 'em everywhere, and I remember thinking, like, whatever machine they make to create all this, the AI, they just all they did was, like, punch in the Toy Story aliens, and they were like, "Make them a different color and give them their own movie," and that was the Minions. Because they look the same, they sound the same, they interact with everything around them, like, this is just yellow Toy Story aliens.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time thinking, like, there's just a big machine that they flip the switch and it just cranks this thing out.
And now that they have Chat GPT, they're like, "We don't even need these hack writers," and then they throw
No.
the name thing at
The
him, hit him in
nameplate
the head.
Adam.
The
Yeah.
nameplate.
I wanted to get my Mad Men glass.
"I wanna check. You are a writer, alright."
So, uh, Sopranos was brought in at number 3. Mad Men was number 2,
Holy
and
shit.
then I was shocked Mad Men was
What?
yeah. Number 1 was I Love Lucy.
Interesting.
I suppose you can give it to that.
Did an 80-year-old man make this list?
Yeah, but also, on the flip side of that, there's part of me that's like rejects that, but then also there's this other part of me that's like, I bet a lot of people feel the same way about Citizen Kane being one of the
Mm.
best movies ever,
No,
or the
but it
best.
is. It is. It's still a good movie. I
It is, yeah,
enjoy
yes,
watching that.
and all of its you're absolutely right on the path I'm going on this, and all the filmmaking techniques that they have in that film that were groundbreaking then still work today. And I feel like if I put on an episode of I Love Lucy, I'm just gonna be bored out of my mind in 30 seconds.
Mhm.
I I just picture like Homer sitting around watching the Lucy show. And I remember watching some episodes when I was a kid and just being like, I don't care about any of this. This is boring.
Yeah.
So I get why they made Lucy number 1 because they have to, honor history or whatever.
Yeah.
But at least it wasn't Big Bang Theory. At least it wasn't Two and a Half Men, which I really thought
Those
it
are
was gonna
number
be.
4 and 5.
Yeah, yeah, that probably like right behind it. It's like, well, since we after the Sopranos write up, like the first paragraph for number 4 is since we just got done with 2 bad boys of entertainment, let's talk about Charlie Sheen and Two and a Half Men coming in at number 4. And then the other thing that I saw this week was members only, the big brand in the 80s and the big brand among hipsters, put out a commercial this week where it was just a straight ripoff of The Sopranos, where all these guys in a back room, and it's like, "Yo, you got the stuff," and this and that, and they're all wearing the jackets. And I just think it's interesting that this brand that's been around now for 40 years has just completely rebranded itself as like the Sopranos brand,
Mhm.
and that jacket plays a big role in the final season. It plays a big role in the final scene. We have our man is
Mm.
in members only jacket. That is what he is credited as, the guy who kind of hovers
Mm.
around that whole final scene. So I just thought it was interesting that two big things this week, both revolved around these programs.
Mm. I am just, shocked that Mad Men is getting that kind of respect.
Me too. Yeah, me
Yeah.
too. I didn't expect it anywhere in the top 10.
Yeah.
Um, as you mentioned in a previous episode, and that I totally agree with. It's almost like a lot of people forgot about it. You don't hear it talked
It's
about.
on AMC Plus. No one can even watch it.
Everyone's just forgot about it.
Yeah. I mean, they
And
talk about Paramount Plus and, uh, something Peacock, like, not existing in, like, 2 years. It's like, we're not even talking about AMC Plus not existing because it already doesn't exist.
yeah, yeah.
The fuck are you talking about? It's just gonna be the Walking Dead app for, like, the 19 spinoffs.
Oh, really? Wait, I can get the 19 Walking Dead spinoffs on there? Oh,
Yeah,
dude,
dude, there's a
awesome.
new one where they go to New York. It's called
Are there
Walking
zo-
Dead: Lost in New York.
are there wait, is Macaulay Culkin there?
Of course, he plays 9/10 of the zombies.
That would actually be awesome.
We
I
didn't
would
need any
watch.
makeup for him either.
Yeah, yeah, just those the bags under his eyes. Tell the whole story. But let's hop right into these 2 episodes. Man, I love both of these. For
Yeah.
both of the for how serious these shows can get, and there's even some serious stuff that happens in both of these episodes. They're just both a lot of fun.
Mhm.
I just they each have the spirit of the holiday season. Everybody goes on a fun little holiday journey. I just love them. I love them. They're 2 of my favorites.
Yeah. There's another Mad Men Christmas episode as well, right? Where Don and, uh, Joan go out to that bar afterwards?
Yes. Yeah, there's one in
Yeah.
a couple years where they go out
Yeah.
drinking together. Like the
Yeah.
2 best looking people in the world go
Yeah.
out, bar hopping.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love both these episodes. It might have my favorite line in all of Mad Men where, Don goes to Roger, he's like, "Did you enjoy the Führer's birthday party?"
Yeah. Yeah. May he reign for 1,000 years. I That's so good. I wanna talk about that very particular in a second. My other favorite Roger line, which I say all the time this time of year, especially when we're going out somewhere, is when they're talking about throwing the party, and Roger starts coming on to Joan, and he's like, "We wear that red dress with a bow in the back, the one that makes you look like a present." I just love that line. And then later on at the party, she's wearing the dress, and it's got the bow in the back and everything. And God,
Yeah,
she looks so good. She is just so much of a woman, and I love that whole setup and payoff.
yeah. I rewatched episode 5 as well, and
Yeah.
Joan like is showing Peggy the ropes on how to cover for
Oh yeah.
your boss when like he disappears without telling anyone is obviously like with his uh side piece while his family is like waiting for him in his office.
Mm.
And she's like, "Yeah, I never understood why Don never took an interest in me." And it's like, wow, the fact that he like didn't do that is impressive.
Yeah. And as the show went on, to me, that became one of the big what ifs. I remember going into like the final two seasons, like, well, what's going to happen in the last season? This and that. I'm like, can Don and Joan please fuck each other? Like, please?
Dude,
Because
I
like the
would say
two,
that Christmas episode was probably the closest they came.
and that's the thing is like their relationship is so intimate. Um,
Yeah.
you can make the argument they didn't need to, but I don't know. Where you have The Sopranos as the only show that has ugly people having sex, I wanted to see these two really good-looking people have sex over on Mad Men.
Well, I think you could make a case that they're the 2 most powerful people in the the series. Like Don is the smartest and most charismatic, and he's the handsomest, but even if he wasn't handsome, he would still, like, outplay everybody, and she just
Yeah,
uses her sex appeal to get anything she wants, including ownership of the company.
yeah, and she knows her way, and not just that, she knows her way around the office. She knows where all the bodies are buried.
Mhm.
They literally as soon as they determine they need to strike out on their own at the end of season 3, it's like that's the first call they make is because she knows where everything is,
Yeah,
and she
yeah.
knows how to pull everything. But yeah, let's hop right in. I want to talk about let's we're kind of close to this. Let's talk about similarities because there's one giant similarity in both of these episodes, which I just think is hilarious, and that is reluctant Santas. Each of these episodes has a reluctant Santa. In Roger, Bobby Bacala, there is a Christmas party coming up. There is a void where no one is playing Santa. Over on The Sopranos, it's Big Pussy. He's dead. Over on The Sopranos, they just don't. Or on Mad Men, they just don't have one for the party. So Bobby Bacala gets forced by his boss to go be reluctant Santa Claus at the at the street party. And then over on Mad Men, Roger Sterling is forced by his boss, Lee Garner
Mhm.
Jr., to be Santa at the party. And just those parallels, like the scenes break down almost the same. There's a power play that gets they each get squeezed and forced into it. I love it. I think it's so funny.
Yeah, that is funny, and I mean, you can make the case that, Lee Garner Jr., like, is the boss. He's 73% of Sterling
Yeah.
Cooper's, like,
Yeah.
revenue or
They're
whatever.
both of their bosses, the people they both directly answer to, put
Mhm.
the squeeze on them and literally say, "Put on the costume, like, put on the fucking costume now, or it's game over." And even in both scenes, once they get told, they each just kinda, like, drop their head and slink away. They're shot similarly.
Yeah.
Um, it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild how much they each line up.
Okay, so consciously, why do you think they did that? And unconsciously, why do you think they did that?
Uh Unconsciously, I think it works out because it's a funny dynamic to put someone in a Santa suit who doesn't wanna be in a Santa suit.
Mhm.
It's just a funny scenario, and if you're creating, a lighthearted holiday episode of a serious program, what better way to show to get a laugh out of the audience and other characters than to put a very serious, not comedic character into that costume because they not only have to look the part of Santa, they have to act the part of Santa, and it's such a great juxtaposition of who they are. Consciously, maybe they were as you and I have been hinting at throughout all of this. Maybe they just look at oh, and Mad Men. Oh, here's what works, and let's just do that over here. and just poured it right over.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I think that, the real boss in every family is the matriarch, the mom, and who's always in the Santa suit? The dad? Does the
Not
dad ever
not in this.
ever Yeah, does the dad ever want to be in the Santa suit? Probably not. He's forced into doing it by the boss, the mom.
Okay. Yeah, okay, that's good. I like that. Um,
And it was
I don't
probably
know,
worse for these writers' experiences, like, they
yeah,
grew up in 20, 30 years before we did, when dads were a bit more gruff and drunk than our dads were.
yes, yeah, yeah, because my dad never put on the costume. I don't remember that. Did yours?
Uh, my grandpa did and my uncles did, but I could
Yeah.
see their reluctance in wanting to do it.
Well, I'll do it like as Freddie Rumsen said, there's a bottle in the pocket.
Yeah.
The coat, put the coat on. Oh, there it is right there. Let's rock and roll.
Drunk everyone knows drunk Santas are the preferred form.
Yeah, absolutely. Bad they made an entire movie out of it, Bad
Mhm.
Santa. Um, speaking of, similarities in these shows, uh, former characters return. I love when they do it's kinda like the ghost of Christmas past. We have Freddie Rumsen, showing back up again,
Oh, yeah, good catch, yeah.
in Mad Men, and then over on
Thinking
The
about thinking
Sopranos, we have
about
our
pussy a lot.
Mhm. Yeah, and over on, The Sopranos, we have Big Pussy and the Jackie Aprile too.
Mhm.
So just kind of this ghost of Christmas past that comes back in some way
Yeah.
for all of our main
Well,
characters.
and they don't people die in Mad Men, but no one's ever, like, directly murdered. Uh,
Yeah,
the closest you get to murder is what they did to Freddie Rumsen,
yeah,
you know? They're like, "Oh, just go dry up for 6 months." He's like, "And then you come right back." And then you hear what's really gonna happen, and they're like, "Nah, he's never coming back. He's done."
yeah. No, and you really because I like the Freddie Rumsen character, and he sticks around for the rest of the show. But yeah, you're right. That is the closest thing to murder. Um, oh, I had a point here a second ago, but now I just lost it. Um, who else do they? Because Lane kills himself. That's not the same.
Mhm.
um, I know what I'm thinking of because I just watched 5G. Prepping for our next episode too. Uh, what Don does to his half brother. That's pretty close
Oh,
to murder
yeah, yeah,
when he sends him packing, and that results in
yeah,
his death too.
yeah. I was watching that and I was like, "How much is 5 grand in 1960 worth in 2023?" And it was like $50,000.
Yeah, it's not nothing.
And I was like, "All right," like, I'd be bummed and, like, I don't know. I don't wanna shame the dude for doing what he did, but it's like, I don't know, I'd use that 50 grand to go make something of myself and then go back to Don, like, 2 years later and be like, "Listen, like, I got this thing, and I'm doing this stuff, and, I'll call you Don, and you can call me, like, your buddy from the war or something."
Yeah, and think of like how much of it from Don's. I hate to jump into 5G here, but how much of it from Don's point of view comes from doesn't want his brother to blow up his spot and all this stuff, but also his brother admits that he's a janitor.
Yeah.
And how long would it have how long, is that 3 years worth of work for a janitor? Is that and
Usually.
that's even before taxes. Is it 10 years of work for a janitor in 1961? Take
Yeah,
your
I
50.
yeah. Yeah, I don't think like, making it make sense for inflation even makes sense because I feel like rent back then, even in New York, it was like $200 a month, maybe
Yeah,
less. So you're like,
take
"Alright."
take that
Yeah,
5 like you said, take that 5 grand, go make a little bit more of your life. He's already a famous guy in a major thing in New York. You could find him again if you needed to.
yeah.
Go make something of yourself, come back a few years later, be like, "I'm a different person too. I know why you did this, Don, my old pal from the war."
Mr. Thompson.
Yeah, Mr. Thompson. "Hello, Mr. Draper." Um,
Yeah. But
another
I
s
I do I
Yeah,
do think that, that did, like, affect Don. Like he did not expect him to kill himself. And then for the rest of the season or the rest of the series, it's like Don's desperately trying to grab onto anyone that he has direct actual family with.
Yeah, and I think this also connects back to our Christmas Sopranos episode with Tony and Big Pussy. That
Mhm.
people get whacked on that show left and right, but Pussy's the only one who kind of haunts them, who shows
Mm.
up in their dreams and their visions. There's that scene in it's at the start of season 3 when it's right after like Tony's mom dies and they're at the house doing some stuff and they open up a cabinet door and you see a quick reflection of Pussy in the door. Like it's
Mm.
that quick. And they shut
Yeah.
it. And then Tony like kind of looks around. And I don't know, I kind of feel like that happens with my dad sometimes. Or you
Oh,
that
yeah.
like you're just like, did I see that in the mirror there? I love that cut. But you're right. It's these characters, our main characters lose somebody, one of the few people they're really close to. In this case, Tony directly whacks Pussy. Don indirectly whacks his brother, the janitor. We'll just call him janitor. Like the waitress in Mad Men is waitress. He's just janitor. He whacks the janitor, and then that's always hanging over their head.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. The other similarity that I have in these episodes, I've written down drunks
Mhm. Mhm.
because on The Sopranos, we're introduced to the Russian, who's going to play a big role a couple more episodes after this in season 3 in Pine Barrens. And then over on Mad Men, Lee Garner Jr. talks about just drinking all day before the party. Don is just hammered nonstop in this episode. Like, and he goes into work. Freddie Rumsen comes in, and they're all like, "Oh no, we're not drinking because Freddie's here." And Don's just like, he gets drunk and nails his secretary. Um, there's that great line
Something
that
he's never done before, a line he's never
no,
crossed.
no, a line he's never crossed,
Mhm.
which he'll cross multiple times this year in season 4. Um, but yeah, everyone's loaded in the Holiday Man Men episode.
Mhm. Yeah.
Looks fun. It looks fun.
It was a simpler time with
It
less
was.
consequences, I
It
suppose.
was. Oh, I do have one more similarity. There are crimes that are committed in both of the episodes because over on The Sopranos we have Tony and uh, Furio beating up Janice's Russian and
Mhm.
throwing him in the front window of that department store, which is so good. That's such a great scene where they pretend to be drunk in the back of the guy's cab, and then Janice sees the story on the news about it. And then over on Mad Men, we have Glenn and his friend doing a breaking and entering on the Draper house.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. And it was all to warm a woman's heart as well. Both
Oh,
reasons.
yeah. Yeah, that's true. They were both a gift to a
Yeah.
lady in their life.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, did you
And
notice
and
that
and I'll
this
say hold on, one,
yeah.
and I'll say if I knew as, like, a adolescent that all I had to do was trash a girl's house and leave her room unscathed and she would be delighted, a lot of the houses would've been trashed.
Chris, you should have been doing that, not your petty vandalisms. Oh
So many
man, so many
wasted
wasted nights. I was already trashing people's homes and causing a mess. I could have just done it to a particular woman's house, and she would have fallen in love with me.
Mhm, mhm.
God
Only we
damn
knew.
it. Getting back to the Sopranos one, um, that episode has a couple kind of more grander Christmas themes that I love. I
Mhm.
love that Tony plays Santa. He literally has a list throughout the entire episode because
Mm.
in the previous episode, Melfi gives him that notebook to like write down his thoughts and all that stuff, but it turns into his list. Tony is Santa. Tony becomes Santa. He has his list of everybody, what he's going to get
Mm.
them. You see him literally cross it off and check it off, going down the list throughout the episode. Whenever you see Tony's Suburban, which is red, I know coincidental, but it matches up with Rudolph's nose in the sleigh. Whenever you see Tony driving, they play like this Jingle Bells theme or jing 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 jing. He's Santa
Oh,
arriving.
wow. He's
You know,
fat and
he's
sweaty?
fat. He's yeah, fat and sweaty.
Dude,
Um,
I would love you know that thing where it's like a chimp, and then it's like some sort of half chimp, half man, and then it's like a man, it's like that, like,
yeah,
evolution thing? I
yeah.
would love to see that of, like, Tony's waist size from, like, season 1
Ooh.
to season 7. The evolution of a mob boss.
Well, I think it would be. I mean, that's gonna end up looking like a hockey stick because it's gonna go the first 2 seasons kinda like this, like this, like this, and then, like, season 5, it's just this.
Do you think they were like, hey, what's his name in real life? I just
Gandolfini,
you
James,
know,
Jimmy,
"Hey,
Jim as
hey,
I
hey,
call him.
hey, Jimmy, you mind, putting on a few LBs?" Or do you think he just showed up like that and they're like, yeah, we'll just,
I think it's a little column A and it's a little column B.
it's like, "Should we just shoot him in shadows
Yeah,
Brando in Apocalypse Now?"
because, um, he puts on all that weight, but then also, after the show's done, he's only around a few more years, and everything that he
He died 10
perfor
years ago.
Yeah,
That feels like he
yeah,
died 2 years ago. The
yeah,
fuck?
feels like yesterday. But
Yeah,
every movie and stuff that he's in after The Sopranos, he's still huge.
yeah,
And in The Drop, which I love The Drop,
mhm,
he's the physical appearance of Tony in the finale of The Sopranos and Gandolfini in The Drop, I don't know, it's this much different. The only difference is he's 4 years older and he's just sweatier somehow.
mhm,
And then when you go and read, like, what he ate the day he died, it's just so much. Like, he was putting down so goddamn much food and liquor that day, and it's like, "Wow, gee, how did this guy die in his sleep?" Son.
Potentially offensive question incoming. Do you think this role played any part in his early demise?
Yes. I'm not, and I'm saying that in the simplest way of life imitates art.
Mhm,
And I don't know if you could have put on this performance and do what he did without going to that place. Does that make sense? That
mhm,
he wouldn't have been able to what is on screen, I don't think at times is that far off from real life. Um, Here's something that I've read in a couple books, and a couple other places about how difficult he was in the final seasons. There were some
mm.
days he would just not show up at all on
Pulling a
set.
Vin Diesel on the Fast and Furious movies?
Yeah, not show up on set, show up late, be a real pain in the ass with shooting,
Oh, wow.
and I think it's life imitates art. So when you see this stuff and they talk about, well, at the beginning of the season, Gandolfini gave everybody, all the actors, like 100 grand gift. It's like, oh, that was really great of him. He kind of did that because he felt guilty. He knew he cost everybody days and money and time.
Mhm,
He was buying that off. That's also something I've listened to the entire Talking Sopranos podcast with Michael Imperioli and Steve Sharippa.
mhm.
They never bring that up. They always bring up what a great
Oh,
guy Jim was, and, "Oh, he did this and he did that." You gotta go somewhere else to get the truth. Like,
oh, wow.
they protect him like a mob boss too. They don't talk about how he really was.
Dude, I mean, he benefited from that from, like, mob people, like, actual mob people, right? Like, anywhere he went, he got treated like he was this guy.
Well, I think they all do, and they all
Yeah,
still do.
yeah,
I mean, these are all people now who, you know, they never have to buy another drink or another meal in the New York area for the rest of their life.
yeah.
They're all Derek Jeter. They're all made men, for lack of a better word,
Mhm,
in real life. And there's a line in the season, I think it's season 3 premiere, where they're having a cookout or something. No, it's season 4, where they're talking to Carmine Lupertazzi, and Carmine mentions how they were out at the Soprano house, and he's like, for a cookout, and he's like, a Don doesn't wear shorts. And that actually happened in real life. Supposedly, in the middle of the night one night in a hotel, Gandolfini got a phone call from an unknown number and answers it. And a guy just in a super heavy accent, just like, yo, yo, we love what you're doing. You're doing fantastic. We don't have any complaints. We love you so much. We just got one thing. A Don doesn't wear shorts. And the guy hung up. And that made it into the show.
Jesus.
And Tony Soprano never wore shorts ever again.
So
So,
wow,
and
so the mob really hates when you make movies about them.
well, no, because then there's also
I'm
there were
being
some,
sarcastic.
yeah, well, there were
It's like
also
a
those.
PR campaign.
Oh my god! I mean, if they're making movies about what you and I were doing, would we feel bad about that? Like making us gigantic stars. Um, but there's that.
I guess they don't watch the second half of these movies or
No,
series when
no,
everything
never.
comes off the
Yeah,
rails.
where everything just goes to shit. Um, but yeah, that's they're made for life, and they in more ways than one. I
Mhm.
think life imitates art. If I more than anything, I wish after Sopranos, Gandolfini just went on like a salad diet for a year and lost some weight, and we still had him around. I mean, that's what you would want,
Mhm.
but
Do you
that's
think there's some echo or shade of uh Betty being like, "Oh, I have cancer. Cool. I'm just gonna die, so I don't have to like risk the embarrassment of aging or
yeah.
floundering in my career."
I think that happens with a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think that's a semi-universal trait. I I've seen it happen in my own family. It's like, "Oh, I'm sick? Oh, okay, fine, cool. Now I have my excuse for
Mhm.
everything."
But I'm specifically for Tony. I mean, this is not just like the role of his lifetime, but the role of like the time period.
Yeah,
And from there's really nowhere else to go but down. Like, there no one has
yeah.
been the king of the dicks in TV and then become the king of the dicks in film or some other TV show. I mean, I guess you could make the argument that like Peggy went from Mad Men to Handmaid's Tale and David Duchovny X-Files to, that one show that was
Oh,
good.
yeah, that show,
I can't remember the name of it.
Californication.
Californication.
That show was really good for, like, 2 seasons.
Yeah, yeah. Then it went off the rails.
Yeah.
But,
Um,
I mean, it's such a risk. I mean, I think that's why, like, Kirk Douglas and Sean Connery, like, you didn't see these guys in public at, like, the day they turned 60.
yeah,
They're just, like, done. Like, Sean Connery could have made, like, the greatest cameo in cinema history and been in fucking Skyfall, but he's like,
yeah.
"Nah, I'm gonna keep my rep where it's at." So, it's like
Well, no,
this
but also hold on, let me stop you right there. No, because he went to go do League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
that was 10 years before,
But
uh,
but but
Skyfall.
they didn't totally leave.
Yeah,
He
but
didn't
I think
totally
that
leave. He was
was but besides, You're the Man Now Dog movie, whatever the fuck that was called,
finding
like,
Forrester.
yeah, he hadn't been in anything since, like, 2004.
Yeah,
Extraordinary Gentleman, I think, was 2003 or
I'm with you on that. I
earlier.
think and I totally agree that but it's also to look at it from a positive point of view and how if I was in that position, I would be looking at it as like, what else do I have to prove? I climbed Everest.
But you're
I
still alive, and you
yeah,
still like to express yourself, and you still have some sway, like, certainly it
that's
may
true.
be dwindling, but I think it's pure ego.
Yeah,
It's pure
that's a
like,
good
"I
point.
was the king. I don't want anyone to think anything less of me as the king for the rest of time, so I'm just gonna
Yeah,
find the earliest exit."
that's a good point. I never thought of it that way. That's a really good
Yeah,
point.
yeah, and it bums me out because like, someone can be floundering for decades. John Travolta, decades, sucked, and then he gives us Pulp Fiction. He gets to be in Pulp Fiction. Like, if he just offed himself in the '80s, like, just, did enough cocaine to do the job, it's like, we wouldn't have that incredible performance. And
Yeah.
we wouldn't have Look Who's Talking 2 or 3.
Um, or that Gotti movie he made, or or those
It
excellent
was really
Capital
the
One.
only movie that was
Well, I was
good.
about to
Everything
say,
else sucked.
well, I was about to say, he wouldn't have had this giant resurgence with Pulp Fiction, and then another 2 decades of garbage following it.
3 decades.
Yeah, now we're going into our 3rd decade of garbage afterwards.
I mean, I think, Tarantino would never admit this, but, every actor he's worked with since Reservoir Dogs, he's worked with multiple times,
Yeah,
except for John
except John.
Travolta. I don't
Yeah,
think that's like, "Oh, I just didn't have a role for him." It's like, "Yeah, I could have made the Vega Brothers, but, I saw where his giant head was going."
like, "Oh, great, now I gotta revive this guy's career again? Oh, Jesus. I'll just go make another movie with Leo, that European guy I found who speaks 7 languages. He can do what I need to do."
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess to bring this point home, the fact that John Hamm is still acting and doing interesting things, like
Yeah.
he's in the new Fargo season. He's had some interesting movie roles that I
He was in
enjoyed.
Top Gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a
Fletch was awesome.
dude, yeah. Confess Fletch, I thought was great, and they had
Yeah,
Roger in that. That was like
yeah.
a I felt like that was a Mad Men, spinoff.
We should do an episode just about Fletch.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
we should. So, I'm and I think that, like, what we're talking about right now is why Tarantino made Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's
yeah,
the transition from King of the Dicks on TV to King of the Dicks in film, and how hard and basically impossible that is,
yeah,
and how many people have been lost on the trying to do that.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great point, man. That's a really great
Thanks.
point, and I never thought of it that way, about have it being so much wrapped up in what you're trying to save and
Mhm. And
what people think of
protects.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, anything else on your thoughts about these 2 episodes?
Um,
Let me check my notes here.
I was bending over backwards to connect Pussy wearing a wire with Roger, wearing some sort of metaphorical wire,
Yeah.
but I
Oh,
can't
yeah.
really make the connection.
Well, here's the thing is, like, knowing what we know about Lee Garner Jr.
Yeah.
and him and Sal and the front-facing, persona that Lee Garner Jr. gives, he's the one that's wearing the wire. Like, he's the
Mhm.
one living 4 different lives
Yeah.
and, like, telling people, different things and just using his money and power to get what he wants out of everybody. Like, that guy's just the ultimate user in this entire show. And I don't you wanna call this predictive programming or whatever, but man, Lee Gardner Jr. looks exactly like the tobacco executive on The Simpsons.
He
Like, it
does.
is it
Yeah.
is pinpoint accuracy. Like, the
Yeah.
hairline, everything lines up on that guy.
Yeah. Smoke. That's from
Yeah.
Family Guy.
Yeah. Um,
Your
but
T-zone.
I was also trying to find, a similarity between, like, the fish in the Sopranos episode or, like, a gift which means something. Um,
Mhm.
but I guess it would just be the only gift that's really given in Mad Men is the cutting device that, Glenn leaves in Sally's bed, and then they give Lee Gunnar Jr. the Polaroid, which then he just turns right around, and just starts taking the pictures of Roger with everybody in his lap, which I think is fantastic. Did you have one of those uh Billy Big Mouth basses?
I don't think so.
No,
No.
we did. And
Uh,
I remember when they came out, we found one. We were traveling one time at a Cracker Barrel, and we bought it for my dad, and it was hilarious and this and that. And then Art Imitating Life, boom! The next year, this episode comes out, and he gets it. And I just remember watching that episode, and my dad thinking that was the funniest thing. Like, oh, our Billy Big Mouth Bass ended up on The Sopranos. The gif where Leo's pointing at the TV was like, that was my dad with the Billy Big Mouth Bass showing up.
yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Um, Dude, you brought up Cracker Barrel. That was like my favorite place when I was a kid, like road trips. I was just
Yeah,
like, "Fuck yeah, Cracker Barrel. I'm gonna beat the shit out of that that golf tee game, and I'm
yeah,
gonna get like some pancakes." And I remember it being delicious.
yeah.
And I've not been back there many times in the decades henceforth. But,
Well,
Erica's dad was like, "Hey, I wanna go here for my birthday." And we're like, "That's weird, like, you've never wanted to go there." He's like, "I don't know, I just wanna go." And we went, and it was, like, the worst truck side food, uh, positively inedible. I was like,
it's
"What
real
the
bad.
fuck are we doing here? This is
It's really bad.
gross."
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know if it changed or I was an
No,
idiot as a
no,
child or
it didn't change. You were just a kid. We went there a lot growing up because it's my dad's favorite place on the road, and I just remember just getting so sick of it.
mm,
God, I was just I there was one summer we just, like, stopped there every single time we were going someplace. It's absolutely disgusting, and we have one out here in the county by our house. We sat there one morning to get some pancakes. The pancakes aren't bad, the girls like the pancakes,
mhm.
and now they have this, like, little stanchion on the table that it's advertised you can order beer and, like,
Yeah, they
um
had beer, I remember that. That was the
and
only
I
thing
and
that
I
was edible.
yeah, and I keep telling Jenny whenever we talk about, like, we wanna go out and just, like, have a good party nights like we used to and just, have at it and hit the town. I go, "We should go back to Cracker Barrel and pregame there." And just go in and they come and bring the menus. Like, what can we get you? Oh, no food for us, thanks. Can we have 7 beers? and just be sitting at that table at Cracker Barrel with just like 7 beers and a bunch of biscuits. And just like,
Yeah.
"Huh, all right, time to call an Uber and hit the road."
I don't think I've ever drank a beer in a rocking chair. That would be a new experience.
Yeah, there you
Or
go,
been,
man.
like, positively lit in a rocking
Yeah.
chair. That could be
Well, I
fun.
remember the only memory I have of us going to Cracker Barrel was when we left Bonnaroo that one year
Mhm, mhm.
and
And it
stopped.
made us
Like,
feel worse, which is
yes, made us feel
impossible.
after being up for 4 days on whatever, somehow we felt worse coming out of Cracker Barrel after eating a full
Yeah,
meal. But
yeah.
that was also the place that had the Ronnie Dunn CD.
Mhm, mhm.
That was it. That was it. And you looking
Ronnie,
like a
well done.
Ron that was well done. Ronnie, well done. And I'm gonna splice in a picture of Ronnie Dunn and that CD cover right here, just so all
Mhm.
of you know exactly what we were making fun of, and just how glorious of an image that still remains in my head of that dude and his very manly cowboy presence.
Mhm,
Let's
mhm.
just put it that way.
Yeah, yep. This
But
this this man was, he was skipping the gym and also many meals and dessert.
yes, yes, like any good cowboy would. Any frail, extremely soccer mom, feminine haircut cowboy would do.
Mhm, mhm.
So, all right, does that do it for our special Christmas episode?
I think so. What, do you have any favorite, Christmas, adult, traditions that are vaguely reminiscent of either of these shows?
I my f- Look, I have traditions with the family and the girls, but the only Christmas tradition that I feel like I have that I created on my own was with you when we do our Santa booms every year.
Yeah, yeah,
That's my favorite Christmas tradition.
yeah.
That's the thing I miss. And that's the thing I think about. And I got the kids, I got the girls. It's fun, it's nice. But man, Christmas comes but once a year, and I'm out at the zoo lights the other night, and everything's lit up and fantastic. And I was like, oh man, I wish Chris was here.
And if anyone's wondering, Santa Boobs is not us doing illicit drugs and walking around, it's us having sex with each other. Santa Booms.
That'll put the rest of those rumors of us being gay. All right, so I think that's the best note ever to close on right there. So,
I was like, "Wait,
um,
what the fuck?"
Yeah, exactly. Tune in next week for no continuation or elaboration on that statement or
Mhm,
that story.
mhm.
We'll get back to our regularly scheduled episode of episode 5, season 1 of both Mad Men and The Sopranos. So for Christopher Broadhead, I'm Michael Dennis. Thanks for tuning in to the Mad Sopranos Men Show. Peace out.
See ya.